Excerpts from It Reeks of Radio. Thank you for your letter, which was brutally helpful. When you spoke to me this morning on the telephone about a letter you had written, I thought you meant another and not the one. It will not be possible to arrange a transcription.
You're perfectly right in saying
the documentary and the poetic cannot mix. An unfortunate error. It is, of course, awkward. Our instrument, a mass medium. We hope listening conditions will be good. We fear it may be difficult to arrange in chronological order. No chance of being selective, took what they got, made the best of it. You and your friends could get the information from some of the literary encyclopedias. Talks are meant to be spoken as a friend might speak to a friend. The style colloquial and easy, the material less condensed. The audience doesn't have an opportunity of thinking. You can turn back pages of a book, but not the hands of the clock. Now that writers have been altered to thinkers, not at all easy to get people with authority. There are many differences between articles and talks. The more suitable a script as an article, the less suitable it is usually for broadcasting. Anything in the script which interferes with immediate apprehension by the listener, who cannot pause and turn back as with an article, must be excised. I should say the suggestion of making no payment to writers or composers is not a very good one. In case there might have been any misunderstanding, I am dependent for my livelihood on my writing. I've been accepting every single offer of work. Regarding the proposed fee, I suppose there is nothing else but accept it. As you know, I have to pay a typist. As well as being a disappointment, it involves a certain amount of financial loss. Please don't think me a money grabber, but you must know what it is like trying to get a living as a professional writer. What with this charitable organization and that deserving cause wanting to do your plays and expecting you to forgo your fee, it becomes a bloody heartbreak. I don't know if it has been your experience to be asked to write a wee bit of a thing for us, which means a loss for professionals like us. It just occurs to me that Pat may be short for Patricia, in which case my humblest apologies for addressing you incorrectly. It just occurs to me that Pat may be short for Patricia, in which case my humblest apologies for addressing you incorrectly. Hard-working women are about the very last people who put pen to paper and make a complaint. On their behalf, and on behalf of my female relatives, friends, and neighbors, I wish to make a protest. Your concern for my touchiness is most heartening. Indeed, no, I do not or would not feel slighted. I hate my own colorless, dead voice. I hereby submit my entry in verse, much too dry and didactic. Really, what I am writing does not concern you. I think she suffers rather from the fact that despite all the surface energy and action, she was not essentially as dynamic a person as each of the others was in his or her way. She lives not so much in her own right as a personality, but in the affection and loyalty and, generally uncritical, memory of her friends. That, I suppose, is why she is a legend rather than a person in the round. All the more essential in order to correct the erroneous conception of the soldierly Amazon, which has assumed legendary proportions in the minds of many. In the course of the narration of people who had the happiness to have shared intimate friendship with her, there appeared before the mind's eye a picture of a lady who had all the gentle qualities that predominate in those of her sex. Her consideration for others, her practical sympathy for the suffering of the poor and downtrodden, her faith in humanity, were aptly illustrated by the recollection of many incidents which helped the listener to appreciate the noble and selfless charity that motivated her countless acts of kindness. What does the London Embassy in all its departments really do? What does it look like? What is the life of an Irish ambassador in London? Definitely not interested in anything in any way English. A character messing about in London, if he telephones for advice or aid, it would be nice if he could persuade Aer Lingus to wait a couple of minutes if necessary. How do you make these distinctions between English and Irish humour? Of course, I know that in a philosophical sense there is a difference, but I don't see it working in practice. After all, the chief mental pabulum of Ireland is the same as that of England, such as picture post, illustrated, etc. And privately, you must admit that occasionally Irish licensees have been known to listen to the light programme from the BBC. Can this be put down to a form of radio schizophrenia, or what? People generally want to hear what is happening in Galway, Cork, Dublin, Belfast, and even Portadown, not a rehash of the BBC word for word. This is out of date, as no one who listens to our bulletins could now say that they are a rehash of the BBC provincial news. You might like to raise the fact that Ireland is not in the British Isles, and that description in its old, generally accepted connotation does not now apply. The word Northman has rather grim historical associations. Scandinavian pirates. I probably have not been back in Ireland long enough to understand public opinion as well as I should, and am quite ready to be guided. Perhaps I rather underestimated the degree of detachment. If you think it would be wiser to omit or modify what I've said, I will quite understand. We have been in touch with the Department of External Affairs, and it is thought that your script should be amended. I hope the phases of larger lunacy have passed, and that you live and breathe again in a normal atmosphere. We do not want to have to reread the book to find out. I'm sure you will agree that even in so small an island, there is a great deal of ignorance. You should search around for other themes, even ones nearer to our own times. The trouble with those, of course, is libel and slander. The copyrights involved make it impossible for us. Can you guarantee that none of the names used in the script is identifiable as belonging to a living person? There is always a danger that might fall into wrong hands. Anything that will interest Irish listeners, the governing factor, ignore place, because it has no Irish, I don't think is altogether right. Performing rights or copyright complications would upset everything. I should add, perhaps, that I am an Irish citizen. Honoured, and as an author a little embarrassed by your invitation. It has not been easy to prevent it from becoming too academic, but I hope I have avoided this fault. I know there are factions and splinter groups there as well as here, and so achieving a permanence which radio broadcasting, because of its ephemeral nature, cannot. As an arsonist, I like the bonfire I have made. Any offence is very much. The director thinks we could repeat it for many years, and that is something he never said about another. The poetic bits at the start came off very well, and the narrator had a fine, honest approach to the matter. Perhaps it went a spot too fast in places, but this was my own fault, as I asked him to take it fast. But again, I would rather it too fast than too slow. Perhaps the background noises were a little too strong in places, as, having established the fact that a fair was in progress, the merest flick of background mooing would have served to preserve the illusion. The bargaining and the storytelling at the end were really first class. The children's voices also gave it that dreamy kind of oblique comment that I wanted. The Kerry accent, not quite true in places, but these are small things. I like the method tremendously. On rereading it, I felt it could do with developing here and there. We cannot say offhand who was the author of the verse quoted. You have given us the commentary without the text, the Baroque fluorescence of ornament without the building. My ears are deaf from all the noise you've got into it. You have presented our producers with what seems to be the biggest problem they have ever had. There may be cuts.